Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a comprehensive mid-decade audit of Saudi Arabia's unprecedented economic and social transformation, something you probably know as Vision 2030. We are exactly 10 years in now, and honestly, the data paints a fascinating, highly complex picture of a nation trying to rapidly engineer a completely new reality for itself. To really wrap our heads around this transformation, we have to start with one massive central question. Can sovereign capital successfully build a diversified post-oil economy before the oil actually runs out? Like, can a country literally just buy a new future? It's basically the most expensive test case in the history of state-directed economic development. And as you'll see today, the results are profoundly mixed. Launched back in 2016, Vision 2030 was designed as this massive national experiment to finally end the kingdom's reliance on oil. But a decade in, we're looking at a stark duality. It's a story of absolutely incredible, measurable successes standing right alongside some pretty staggering failures. It's proving that while you can absolutely use sovereign capital to shift an economy, you can't just build a civilization by announcement. So let's look at Section 1, the pragmatic successes. The economic diversification here, it isn't just a PR promise, it's real and it's highly measurable. Non-oil sectors now account for over 55.6% of the economy. That's up from just 45% at the program's launch. And check out tourism, it is booming. They brought in roughly 122 million total visitors in 2025 alone, generating around 300 billion reals in spending. The kingdom basically hit its 50% non-oil GDP target way ahead of schedule. But you know what's perhaps even more striking? This number right here, 36.3%. The surge in the Saudi female workforce skyrocketed from a baseline of just about 17% in 2016 all the way to 36.3% today. I mean, that is one of the fastest gains in female workforce participation in modern economic history. It is a massive shift in the domestic labor market. And this isn't just some statistical anomaly, right? It really illustrates how rapid legal reforms and shifting social norms have dramatically transformed daily life and corporate demographics over there. Women aren't just entering the workforce, they're taking on highly professional, technical, and entrepreneurial roles. Actually, women-owned enterprises now represent nearly 44% of total enterprises in the kingdom. So the real takeaway so far is that when Vision 2030 focused on practical, existing demand, it completely delivered. We're talking about projects like the massive 176-kilometer Riyadh Metro or the NEOM green hydrogen plant, which is already 80% complete. The King Abdullah Financial District is now hosting over 140 multinationals, and luxury resorts at Red Sea Global are fully operational. These infrastructure projects succeeded because they served real markets with proven technology, anchoring multiple non-oil sectors. But then we have Section 2, the spectacular failures. Let's talk about The Line, which was supposed to be the crown jewel of the NEOM Megaproject. The gap between the initial visionary branding and the current reality is, well, it's pretty staggering. It was originally promised as a 170-kilometer linear city housing 9 million people by 2030. Now, it's been quietly scaled back to an expected 2.4 kilometers with fewer than 300,000 residents. Construction was suspended in late 2025, a massive $1 billion tunnel contract was completely canceled, and internal audits suggest full completion wouldn't even happen until 2080. And it's not just The Line. Other highly experimental projects that lacked an existing customer base on day one have been similarly scaled back or just straight up abandoned. Construction on the $50 billion Mukab project, suspended. The Turjana Winter Games and its artificial freshwater lake, canceled, which wiped out nearly $7 billion in contracts in a single month. The defining characteristic of all these failures was relying on a population or a market that simply didn't exist yet. Which leads us directly into Section 3, the fiscal reality. The financial tallies here are sobering. The Public Investment Fund, or the PIF, was forced to record an $8 billion write-down on its gigaprojects. That's a very stark financial acknowledgement that the original pipeline was drastically mispriced from day one. Add to that a roughly $7 billion unrealized loss on their investment in Lucid Motors, and it makes total sense why the kingdom is shifting toward a new framework of strict capital discipline. Right now, they're facing a $57.8 billion annual borrowing requirement. On top of that, the massive amount of capital required to sustain this rapid transformation has left the government facing a projected $44 billion deficit for the year 2026. Public spending has been doing all the heavy lifting for a decade now, but as the program matures, that flow of public capital is becoming a severe constraint. And this budget constraint proves a really vital point. While the non-oil economy has indeed grown beautifully, a huge chunk of that domestic project activity is still indirectly funded by oil revenues channeled through the PIF. This reality is forcing a strategic triage. The government is pivoting away from futuristic spectacles and redirecting funds toward projects with immediate, demonstrable economic returns. Think AI data centers, manufacturing, and logistics. Now, moving on to Section 4, the human cost. Beyond the financial ledgers, we have to objectively examine the human toll exacted by this rapid infrastructure expansion. Investigations and international reports document that an estimated 21,000 foreign migrant workers, principally from India, Bangladesh, and Nepal, have died on Vision 2030 projects since 2017. The documented data reveals a very grim reality sitting right alongside all this modernization. Official reporting notes 100,000 workers reported missing, and the International Labor Organization has accepted a formal forced labor complaint. Domestically, clearing the land for projects like NEOM resulted in the displacement of 20,000 tribe members, and we've seen severe, decades-long prison sentences and, in some cases, death sentences handed down to individuals who protested these evictions or expressed dissent online. Ultimately, the crucial takeaway from this explainer is that Vision 2030 is a profound duality. It has delivered genuine economic diversification, built thriving real-world infrastructure, and modernized social participation for millions of people. But it has also triggered catastrophic physical and human costs while attempting to force spectacular, unproven cities out of the desert sand. So as the kingdom enters the next phase of this unprecedented experiment, with depleted cash reserves, mounting debt, and a much sharper focus on projects that actually generate revenue, we are left with one monumental question. How much of this transformation can continue without public spending doing all the heavy lifting? Simply put, who pays for the second half of Vision 2030? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.